Hello, welcome back to Be a Creative. I am super excited about today's video. So a week and a half ago, I was watching the Frugal Crafter and she demoed the Marabu Easy Marbling paints. As soon as I saw them, I knew I had to have these in my life. That has only ever happened two other times. The first time I saw someone use a gel plate and when I saw Dina Wakley demo the gloss sprays. I immediately ordered them. I just did it. I knew that this was going to be awesome. Has anyone else ever experienced anything like that before? Like you just saw it and you were like, this is for me. I have to have this. Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear what your like must-have craft supply was when you saw it. If you decide to use these though, you're going to need to wear some gloves because they are super messy and sticky. I tend to put on all my gloves like I'm being filmed in an episode of Grey's Anatomy, but that's not a requirement. That's just me. The other thing that I noticed when I was using these is that they do smell. They're solvent based, which is why they sit on the surface of the water. So if you are working in an enclosed craft space that doesn't have a lot of ventilation, I would suggest opening a window or getting a fan. I actually had to turn my fan on because the smell was a little bit overpowering for me. The other thing that I noticed, and you can kind of see that here, you don't have a big open time with this. The water temperature was a little bit finicky and they tended to skin up fairly quickly. I think the instructions say that the open time is like 60 seconds to a minute and a half, which seems like a lot of time, but it's really not, especially when you're doing all that weaving and stuff like that. So what you're watching me do is, okay, wait, let me back up. Whenever I get a new craft supply, my litmus test for that is, does it work with all of my other craft supplies, specifically my Dina Wakley stuff, because that is 95% what I use. So if it's not going to play well with Dina, then I probably don't want to invest in it. So what I decided to do was take every mixed media supply that I own and do a little bit of research. I took a set of tags and you can see on the back of the tags I've written whatever supply that I used on the tag on the back, so that after they dry I would be able to go back and see how successful it worked. So I took things like my distress grip paste, texture paste, crackle paste, two different types of crackle paste actually, the folk art and the distress crackle paste. I also applied it over a whole bunch of different mediums. So like in this one, I had sprayed some Dina Wakley gloss sprays through this, and I used the same stencil, was that heart stencil. I used it for everything. So if I applied texture paste or if I applied paint, whatever it was, I used the same stencil with all of the products to try to keep it as valid as possible, though I have a feeling my research professor would probably beat me with a wet noodle if he knew that I had conducted something like this way. So you can see the marbling is super pretty. It's like gel printing on water, and I think that's why I knew as soon as I saw it the first time that I was gonna like it. I was able to play around a little bit with some of the colors and the swirls, and I never got mud, which again I have to attribute not to my artistic skill but to the nature of the medium, because that one I didn't get a really good impression. I didn't have it pressed down evenly across the top. So it's not, I can't attribute the no mud quality to my artistic skill. It's the nature of the medium. Because they're solvent based, the colors don't mix with each other. This reminded me so much of hydro dipping, and I think that also contributed to my excitement. I love to hydro dip. I will hydro dip anything that's not nailed down, by the way. It's fantastic. I loved the color and the effect that you can get. This right here reminded me a little bit too much of the Green Bay Packers, so we may have to trash those tags. I don't know what I'm gonna do with those. Go Bears. So I wound up getting, I think maybe like 14 colors altogether because I knew that I was going to use this. So I kind of splurged. I mean, not that I need to justify it, but it was just one of those things. I knew it was going to be badass. So I wound up getting a lot of color because I like to have choices. And I was not disappointed with any of the colors. That was something else that I was super surprised about. The colors were so incredibly pigmented. I did notice though that they did look a little bit brighter over certain types of cardstock, and I did use distress mixed media cardstock for all of the tags, because that's primarily what I do all my tags on anyway. This one is over acrylic paint. I wanted to see if the acrylic paint would come through. You can see it does a little. I know that I'm going through this super fast. I'm actually at the end of this little clip, I will show you all of the finished prints in real time, and that way you can see how they looked over top of everything. Here towards the end, I am going to switch over and I think this is the last tag that I do, but I am going to switch over and try to marble on some deli paper, because I was thinking this is going to make amazing collage material, because the backgrounds are so, they're just so pretty. I mean, I couldn't get over it. They're just absolutely gorgeous. So these are the tags in real time. I did let them dry for 24 hours because that's what the instructions said. I actually read the instructions before I use this, which I typically don't do that. I'm kind of just like go all in. So these are the finished pieces. So oh, I didn't slow this down for real time. Sorry. That's tag with gloss spray, and that's through black gesso, and you can see that came through really well. That was just dark acrylic paint. That one was over gloss spray white. You couldn't see that. You can see the acrylic paint in that one a little. Spoiler, so none of the texture paste showed up. This solvent-based paint is really thick, and it sits right on the surface of whatever it is that you're dipping. So it was completely pointless to do this over any of the texture paste, except for one. The Frugal Craft medium didn't do anything. Oh God, those are the Green Bay tags. Ugh. Except over the Distress Crackle paste. That one, you could actually see the crackle through, and I thought that the future artistic implications of that are going to be really interesting. Again, you can see the colors regardless of whether, oh, this is the one. You can see the crackle. That's so awesome. It just looked really cool, so I'm excited to see how that is going to play out in future projects. These last little ones I didn't show you, I just cut up pieces of metallic cardstock, and you can still see some of the metallic through them. I was really surprised by that. I didn't think those were going to come out. Okay, so this part is actually kind of important, because this is where I find out if it's going to play well with my Dina stuff. Alright, you can't really stamp over top of it. That was from the very first time I used it. It was Stays On and Black Soot. So what I did is I took two pieces, I covered one with gloss medium, and you can see then I stamped over top of it after it dried, and that made a huge difference. I also took another piece and I covered it with clear gesso, and then stamped over it again after it had dried with Stays On and Black Soot archival ink, and I think that the gesso stamping showed up a little bit better. So once I had figured out how I could stamp directly over top of this, I was a little bummed out there's going to be an extra step, but I'm determined to make this work. So let's make a tag, because if I can't make a tag, then I'm thinking, well, as amazing as these prints are, what am I going to do with it? I decided to treat it basically just like another form of gel printing, and which is always creates a super busy background. I also really appreciate the fact that it gives you the appearance of a lot of layers, and if you're a lazy crafter like, oh sorry, that's my dog's hair, he's been hanging out with me in the craft room a lot. If you're a super lazy crafter like I am, and I own that, I like anything that will give me the appearance that I've spent hours creating an amazing background when actually only took minutes. So that was already a reason to get these marbling paints. But because they are so busy, I decided that I probably would not want to use them as a whole. So what I've done is taken a whole bunch of collage elements like some book paper and washi tape, and I've just glued it down over the back of a tag. I wanted to see how well the stamps would work directly onto the gel paper, the deli paper. That is untreated. I didn't add gesso or gel medium over top, and I didn't need to. I think it's soaked into the paper, whereas on the tags it kind of sits in the surface. So I really like that effect. I think it's really pretty, and it's different than a gel plate because there's so much detail. So now I've decided that I want to add a little bit more color back into the tag, because it's still really busy. Even though that there's like this just little touches, it's kind of, I don't know, my background's kind of eating it. So I decided to cut them up into thinner circles, and I'm really starting to dig how this is coming together. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Part of the reason why I do voiceovers is because I have a have a dirty mouth. I curse a lot. So I wish you guys could have heard me when I was working on this tag. It would have been definitely X-rated. So anywho, I need to push back some of that background because it's, as you can see, it was eating it, it was blending in. So I'm just taking some white gesso and I'm brayering it with an actual brayer and then my finger right over the top. And now I can put down those little collage bits that are just freaking amazing. And I don't know how I would have replicated that without the marbling paints. I think that there is definitely a place for these marbling paints with my Dina supply. Again, not that anyone's asked. I was just really excited and wanted to share this new amazing craft supply. So here's the finished tag. I absolutely love this, and I think I don't know. I just think it's awesome. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.